Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really embarking on an incredible journey, I think. We're going deep into some profound spiritual ideas, specifically from chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita, a really fascinating text.
Yeah, so our mission today is basically to unpack what Krishna reveals about, well, everything. Existence, the soul, the ultimate truth. We'll be navigating through some pretty powerful metaphors, insights that, honestly, they challenge how we usually see things, trying to cut through the noise. Yeah.
And we kick off with an image that might just flip your perspective, literally. Krishna starts by describing the world as this upside-down tree. Okay, let's get into this. Get ready to see things quite differently.
It is quite striking, isn't it? And you're right, this isn't just abstract philosophy we're looking at. This wisdom, it's really aimed at helping you grasp the root of illusion and maybe more importantly, how to connect with what's truly real, the highest truth. It's presented very much as a practical path, a path to freedom.
Okay, so let's jump right into that core metaphor then, the Ashwattha tree. The text describes our material world as this eternal Ashwattha tree with its roots above and branches below. And then it adds, the Vedic hymns are its leaves. One who knows this tree knows the Vedas. Wow, an upside-down tree. I mean, that imagery is just so strong. We usually think of roots down below, grounding things, right? But here, the root is spiritual, up high. And our desires, the branches, they spread downwards, pulling us down, entangling us. What's that really telling us?
Well, that inversion is key. The Ashwattha, or the sacred fig tree. It's known for its massive, sprawling growth. It often symbolizes life itself. But flipping it upside down like this, the Gita makes a really critical point. This tree is samsara, that endless cycle of birth, death, rebirth. The roots above, that's the spiritual source, the ultimate reality. The branches reaching down, that's the material world in all its forms, our desires, actions, all the temporary stuff we get caught up in. And understanding this tree, really understanding it, is like knowing the essence of the Vedas because it reveals the fundamental nature of existence and illusion, which of course immediately brings up the big question. Okay, if it's an illusion trapping us, how do we get out?
Exactly. And that's what's really interesting because Krishna doesn't just paint the picture. He tells us what to do about it. He says, cut it down.
He does. The text says something like, this tree's true form isn't perceived here. One must cut down this firmly rooted tree with the strong axe of detachment, and then seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns. Now, this act of detachment, it's not about being cold or uncaring. That's a common misconception. It's more about freeing yourself from the illusion that lasting happiness comes from temporary things, from those fleeting joys and sorrows. Think about it. If you're clinging onto a branch that's always swaying, maybe even breaking, you're never secure. Detachment is letting go of that branch, recognizing it's not your true foundation. And what's profound here is how directly this links detachment to reaching, as the text puts it, God's abode, a state of permanence. No return.
Okay, but that word detachment, it can sound pretty daunting, can it? Especially living a normal, busy life. We all have desires, goals, relationships. We feel joy, we feel pain. Is it about suppressing all that? Or is there a nuance we're missing? Like, how do our everyday wants and needs act like those downward branches, really?
That's a really important point. It's absolutely not about becoming some kind of emotionless robot or disengaging from life completely. It's more about not being controlled by your desires or your reactions to things. Think of it like watching a movie. You can get totally absorbed, feel the emotions, laugh, cry, but you still know it's a movie, right? You don't actually jump into the screen. Detachment is kind of like that. It lets you act purposefully in the world, experience life fully, but without identifying so completely with the ups and downs that they dictate your inner peace. When our daily desires become the only thing driving us, that's when they act like those branches, pulling us further into temporary attachments, making it harder to connect with that spiritual root. So it's more about shifting your perspective on what's ultimately real and valuable, not about just giving everything up in a physical sense.
Not being owned by our desires. I like that framing. Makes sense. So if this material world, this tree, is something we need to, cut through, where does that leave us, the individual? Krishna then shifts the focus inward, right, to who we actually are. He says something really profound. The living beings in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind.
Yes. And this is just huge. It fundamentally changes how you might see yourself. It's saying you're not just a product of biology or a circumstance. You're not just consciousness. You are an eternal divine spark, a part of the supreme source, Krishna himself. If you really sit with that, connecting it to the bigger picture, it means your true identity is way, way grander than whatever temporary situation you find yourself in. It reframes that struggle we all feel. It's not some inherent flaw, maybe. It's more like a temporary state of forgetting our true nature. And our purpose, well, our ultimate purpose is to remember and return.
That's a beautiful, powerful idea. But okay, let's play devil's advocate for a sec. If we are divine fragments, why the struggle? Why this feeling of being bound? Where does this struggling very hard with the six senses bit come in? And this eternal part? How does that work? Were we just like always existing?
Good questions. The struggle, according to this, comes because even though our essence is eternal and divine, we've become entangled, caught up, entangled with temporary material energy, specifically through our mind and senses. Imagine a bright light bulb covered in layers and layers of dust. The light's still inherently bright, eternal, but its expression is obscured, blocked. That's kind of like the soul covered by material conditioning. And yes, eternal means continuously existing, which leads right into the idea of the soul's journey across lifetimes. The Gita uses this really vivid analogy, doesn't it? It says, just as air carries aromas, so does the soul carry the different conceptions of life from one body to another.
Yeah, the air-carrying sense, it's so clear. It really paints a picture. So the soul, the real self, travels, body to body, life after life. What are these conceptions of life or impressions that we're carrying? How do they actually shape that journey? Do they push us towards awakening or keep us stuck?
Essentially, those impressions are our subtle baggage, our accumulated karma. It's the residue of everything we've done, thought, desired. Every single choice, every experience leaves this subtle imprint. And these imprints shape our inclinations, our tendencies, the circumstances we find ourselves drawn to in the future. It's a continuous feedback loop. This journey goes on, lifetime after lifetime, the text suggests, until you awaken to the Supreme. Until you consciously realize your true identity and break the cycle. It's a powerful idea, and it makes you think, right, what kind of impressions am I creating right now? Are they leading towards freedom or more entanglement?
It's very mindful, yeah. Okay, so from the individual soul and its journey, let's zoom out again. Let's look at Krishna's presence in the whole cosmos. He says something pretty sweeping. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me. And the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. He also mentions sustaining planets and nourishing vegetation.
Right, and this isn't just saying I created everything. It's deeper than that. It's emphasizing that Krishna is the underlying source of all the light, all the energy, all the nourishment we see and experience. He is that splendor. It connects the spiritual source directly to the physical universe we inhabit. It's a completely holistic view. Divinity isn't separate. It's woven into the very fabric of reality. What's fascinating is how it portrays the divine as totally intertwined with every part of existence. The light you see, the food you eat, the very fact that planets hang in space. It's all presented as flowing from that single source. It's not just an external creator, but the fundamental sustaining energy within everything.
Wow. Okay, so that brings us to the absolute peak of this chapter, doesn't it? The concept of the supreme person. The Gita states, besides these two, the fallible and the infallible, there is the greatest living personality, the supreme soul, the imperishable Lord himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them.
Exactly. This greatest living personality is Purushottama, the supreme person. And the text makes a crucial distinction here. He is distinct from both the destructible material world, the fallible, and the individual eternal souls, the infallible. So you've got the changing physical reality, you've got the countless eternal souls within it, and then there's something, or someone, beyond both. The Gita is unambiguous. Because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I'm celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person. He pervades everything, maintains everything, and is ultimately the goal, the destination. This gives a very clear aim for the spiritual path. It's not just about escaping the material or even realizing the individual soul's eternity. It's about connecting with that supreme person, the ultimate reality.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. This inverted tree, our own divine spark, the journey of the soul, Krishna is the source of everything, and now this supreme person. For someone listening, taking all this in, how do we actually do it? How do we realize this? What's the practical takeaway for living life?
Well, despite the depth and complexity of these ideas, the path outline is actually quite direct, almost simple in its essence. It boils down to this. Actively work on cutting that tree of illusion. How? Through conscious detachment. Detachment from being owned by temporary results, temporary joys, temporary sorrows. Again, not by avoiding life, but by understanding the temporary nature of, well, the temporary. And then crucially, seek that supreme person, Krishna, with love. with devotion. The text strongly implies that this focused seeking, this loving connection, is what ultimately leads to liberation, to freedom and lasting eternal joy. It's fundamentally a journey of shifting our focus, reprioritizing what we value, and consistently remembering our true connection to that supreme source.
And there we have it. A really deep dive into Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15. What a journey. We went from understanding this wild image of the upside-down tree representing our material entanglement to recognizing our own eternal divine nature as souls, and finally grasping Krishna as the ultimate source, the sustainer, and the goal of all existence. This whole exploration, it really has been about trying to see beyond the fleeting stuff, hasn't it? And reconnecting with something timeless, eternal, profound. So here's a final thought to maybe mull over. We talked about this idea that we as living beings are eternal fragments of the Supreme, of Krishna. If you really take that on board, that you are inherently a divine part of the ultimate reality, what does that actually imply for your potential right here, right now? How might it change how you view your capabilities, your purpose, even the challenges you face day to day? Does it shift anything about your inherent worth or capacity for growth?
That's a powerful question to leave with. And it's worth remembering, this chapter, amazing as it is just one part of a much larger conversation. The Gita continues, exploring devotion, liberation, different paths. It really suggests that the journey of understanding and connection keeps unfolding. It invites further exploration, always more to discover.